So in the previous video, we got to the point where we specified homepage personalization rule. Um, in this video, let's go into the Lambda configuration and specify both our configuration schemas and the configuration values that match those schemas, right? So from a business perspective, what we're trying to do is to define the schema to allow our business users to specify values for these slots and then values for these trending deals. So the first step is to define the schema, right? And the schema that we want let's first define the schema for this, right? So we want a few attributes and we want a list of them. So if you look at this, we go into the console and go into configuration schemas and we click on create. Actually, let me just quickly show you what that schema is going to look like. So we're going to call it featured products, right? So let's call it featured products for the schema, right? And there are multiple ways to make the schema. If you double click on this, you can click on these links and there's some online tools that can help you make these schemas. But the easiest and the most fun way to make a schema is to use Chat GPT. And I kind of already made one, but I just want to show you how this will work. So you can go to Chat GPT and say, I want a schema like this. You just ask it nicely. Say, can you please make me a schema with these attributes? You hit enter, and it will make that schema. Usually does a pretty good job. You do want to eyeball it, make sure that it's doing the right thing. Almost always it does, and it's marked all these properties as required, which is what we want. So we're just going to copy that and go back into our Lambda console. And as soon as you paste it, you'll notice that it immediately let's make this string. It immediately made a form for you to see what this is going to look like for your business users, right? And because we want our business users to be able to specify a list of products in the trending deal section, just mark that as yes, and you click on save. So now you have a schema for your featured products, right? And then let's do the same thing for homepage slot details, and we're going to make a schema for that, and we're going to populate it. And again, you could use ChatGPT for this, but we already have a schema ready. We're just going to pick that up. But again, just making the schema has never been easier. Just go to ChatGPT, tell it what you want, and it'll make the schema for you. This one is not an array type because we're just gonna we have 4 slots and we have 4 names for those slots. Let's click on save. So now you have schemas for both your configuration values. So now that you have the schemas, let's go back into the lambdas and let's create a lambda. So create new. And if you happen to watch this video and you're not using lambdas, or if you're using like a NextJs application or an Express application, you can think of lambdas as analogous to your services. So your service will have a specific configuration. You want to group your configuration somehow. We're using lambdas to group our configuration. So that way you can load up the configuration values on startup for a specific service, and you don't have to load up all the configuration values. So you kind of want to group them. But for Lambda, just create a key for your Lambda. Typically, this can be the Lambda name, whatever uniquely identifies your Lambda. Just you can name that. So what we're going to do is you're going to define a couple of configuration values for this. So let's call it featured products. So one of them is featured products. The other one we want to call it, what do we want to call it? Homepage slot details. So click the other one, homepage slot details. Now, when you add this configuration value, it will attach a type to it, and the default type is static value. Obviously, you don't want that. You want a specific configuration schema as your type, right? So for featured products, you want featured products, right? And when you click on next, it's going to give you this form to add featured products, right? In our case, we're just going to copy this because we already have. I don't want to go through and add these one by one by hand. It's going to take too long. For the demo, we're just going to add this. And again, this will allow you to customize this. You can add, remove. When you click on this, it'll allow you to edit these values. You can save. When it's done, though, like the previous one, it has to be just JSON, right? So you can use the form to edit. And again, this is something that you can let your business users control. For our enterprise customers, you can choose to not show this input. So your business users are required to use the form. There's some validation built in. But as an admin user, you can just go in and modify it by hand if you wanted to. Right. So now that that's done, click on save. So now you have the featured products. Let's go in and do the same for homepage slot details. So as soon as you click on that, click on next, it'll ask you to fill out the slots. I know these values, so let me just click on hobbies, clothing, shoes, and jewelry, home and kitchen, and max product. I'm going to say 5. So again, these are the default values. We click on next. It's JSON. Click on save. So now you have your Lambda that is configured with these 2 configuration values, and these configuration values match the configuration schema that you defined in the earlier in the video. So now you're all set with your configuration values, your rules, your lists. Everything is set. Now it's time to publish, and we're going to do that in the next video. So hang in there. We're almost done.